Krista, and I am the founder and CEO of Reflectors Intellect Resources. We provide hope, inspiration, education, and resources to those who are mental illnesses and their family and friends. I have with me Amy Ann Mayberg, who is a licensed associate marriage and family therapist. She works with individuals who deals with depression and anxiety, difficulties with life transitions, and grief and loss. She also works with couples and families. With her work with couples, she's hoping to improve the relationship or work through a crisis of some sort. A couple may be at the beginning of their lives together and want premarital counseling, which can identify what's important to know as two people connect to their lives together. Or a couple may have trouble communicating, and so they need help learning how to listen to each other or to speak up for themselves in healthy ways. In these cases, Amy Ann works together with the couples to serve the dynamic between them so they can get more of what they want and need from each other, and encouraging a growth mindset for the relationship. Couples may also be dealing with some difficult problems and just hanging on and not sure what to do. These are situations where discernment counseling can help couples determine the best course of action before simply diving into couples counseling. So you have experience with EMDR, so I just want to explain EMDR to the audience and who would benefit from it and what does it look like.
Okay. EMDR is a process where we help the brain to process difficult situations. So it might be a trauma, a very discrete event that has happened in your life, or it could be the accumulation of lots and lots of little traumas that you have experienced throughout your life. So if you think about EMDR as a natural process that the body does, so for instance, if you cut your hand, your body knows what to do already. It sends the right cells and the right proteins to that area to heal. Okay. And typically when we have a problem, our brains also know exactly what to do. Sometimes with traumatic situations or difficult life events, the brain gets stuck, and so EMDR is a way of helping the brain to simply heal itself in a natural way. And we do that by accessing and stimulating the bilateral nature of the brain. So either you're moving your eyes from side to side, or somehow the body is being activated on both sides. So either with taps or with sounds or motions of some sort. And it's a pretty painless process, with the exception that obviously you're talking about something that is difficult. And so working with clients who have suffered some situation that they find traumatic, and that can be very different for different people. Does that help?
Yes. So what is the time frame of EMDR?
Oh, it really depends on the person and the problem they're dealing with. So it might be, 1 or 2 sessions. It could be many more. It really depends on the individual and on the problem they're experiencing.
Okay.
So.
Great. What are some life transitions? Well, because life transitions is hard for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So then how can we, so what's the meaning about that? Like, why is it hard, and how can a person deal with it?
Oh, boy. Those are tough questions, Krista. Life transitions, I think, are hard because people just don't like change. We get used to one thing and we think, okay, I got this down. I want things to stay the same. But the reality is life is full of changes. Everything changes every single day. And the bottom line is we have to learn how to get used to it to some degree. And part of that, I think, is trusting ourselves to know that we can handle what shows up in our lives. So I think And I'm guessing for many people the problem is they are unsure whether they'll be able to handle the change. They like the way things are. They don't want them to change.
Yep.
And frequently people think of change as very threatening, but it isn't always. Sometimes a change, even when you don't want, brings good things with it as well as strange things or something that is not your ideal. But we usually get used to the things that happen in our lives, and sometimes it just takes a little help to recognize not all change is bad.
How can a person deal with a life change? Like, what are some coping mechanisms?
Kindness, I think, self-compassion, recognizing, wow, this is hard. I didn't want to do this. And being nice to yourself as you go through these things that happen. I think those are good solutions to start with.
Okay.
Self-compassion is always helpful in my book. It just feels good, to allow yourself the recognition that, wow, this is hard and I'm struggling. Not I'm bad and I can't handle it, but bummer.
Yep.
This is hard.
So let's take a marriage situation.
Okay.
So in a marriage, what are the signs of when you should try couples counseling or therapy?
Oh boy. Again, it's kind of an individual decision. If you maybe are realizing that you and your partner are arguing a lot over little things that really don't matter, perhaps might be one reason. Or if you're feeling uncertain about the commitment in your relationship, or you're unsure, what do I really want? If you're hit with a crisis and you don't know what to do, that might be a reason to seek another opinion. I think if you're in your life going along and all of a sudden something starts to hurt, you go to the doctor. So in your relationship, if something doesn't feel right, and typically we have an inkling that something is wrong, ignoring it is not always the best thing to do.
Okay.
So that might be a reason to just get another opinion. Is my relationship in trouble? Should we be talking about things that we haven't talked about before? Things like that.
What kind of couples receive premarital counseling?
I think couples who are told that it's available is one group who might come for premarital counseling. Sometimes you hear about it through your church or your synagogue or the mosque. There's maybe your religious leader knows that there are certain things that every couple should try to at least talk about once before they tie their lives together and decide to create a new family. Couples who maybe are just interested in finding out more about what they don't know about their partner. I mean, there's an awful lot that goes on with another person that you would never hear about. And maybe there are things that you don't know that you should know. And so you might be interested in checking it out. Couples who are courageous, I would say, would ask for premarital counseling, because you could uncover something that maybe you didn't want to know.
In some sense, I think everyone should at least try.
Sure.
At least.
Why not?
Time.
Why not?
So, what happens during couples and discernment counseling, and is there a difference between the two?
Oh, there's a big difference between them. In couples counseling, I think that what happens is you're trying to change the dynamic of how you relate to your partner. So you're working on maybe changing how you talk to one another, how you communicate. You might be changing how you present your requests to your client, to your partner. For instance, instead of saying, I want blah blah, I want you to do blah blah blah, you might say, honey, I need some help today. Would you be willing? And so it's just a process of learning how to interact with someone in a way that they're willing to hear what you have to say and to work with you so that each of you gets your needs met. So couples counseling is really more about just learning how to be in relationship and helping you to develop some good relationship skills. Discernment counseling is very different. It's a process, it's a short-term process where the therapist works both individually and briefly with the couple together to help each of them figure out what is best for me and for us in this relationship. What do I need? What do I want? Helping to gain some clarity about what has happened in the relationship that has brought them to a place where one or the other of them is thinking, I got to get out of this.
Yep.
How did you get there? So discerning, understanding, and also beginning to recognize what has been my part in creating this relationship. Every relationship, each person is 100% responsible for their 50% of what happens together. One person can't create all good or all bad. It's a combination. And so that discernment process really allows the couple some space to really think about what do they need to do? What do they want to do? What are they willing to do? And sometimes it's do nothing. Maybe they don't have the emotional space to actually deal with the issues in their relationship at this point. So now they may have a better understanding of what those issues are, but they can decide we're going to put this off until we reach a certain place in our lives, and then we can really pay attention to it.
Yep.
Maybe they're going to decide, yep, we need to have some couples counseling, and I'm willing to really commit to, say, 6 months of couples counseling and be all in and not be threatening, I'm going to walk out anytime. Maybe they decide, I just don't have the energy for it. One or both of them.
Yep.
And they decide to separate. In cases like that, the therapist can work with that particular partner or both partners to separate in a healthy way. And at least at that point, each person has an understanding, here are the things that I bring to a relationship, and if some of it is less than my best self, maybe these are things I want to work on anyway, individually, before I decide to connect up again with someone else. So whatever baggage we have in this relationship, if you don't take a look at it, understand it, you're going to bring it to your next relationship too. So that's what discernment counseling can do.
Yep. So how does a person know if they have an addiction problem?
That's a good question. I would say probably the way to know that is that there are negative things happening in your life. There are effects from your use or abuse of a substance that reflects negatively on your ultimate goals. It's affecting your relationships, it's affecting your work, it's affecting how you socialize. If you're thinking more about the substance or whatever it may be that you're addicted to, then moving forward in a healthy way with the rest of the tasks of your life, then you're probably suffering, and that will show up. So I think that's how you know. Frequently too, it's the people in your life that will tell you there's a problem that you need to address, because sometimes when we get stuck in situations like that where we're abusing a substance, we're not really aware that we're relying too much on that one particular thing to not feel or deal with the things that we should be paying attention to.
What are some steps of dealing with an addiction?
Steps to deal with it. One is to recognize it. That's the first thing, is to recognize there's a problem here and I'm not liking it. Obviously, if you hear from the people in your life that you're not living up to what they think you should be, that's a tough message to hear. I suspect it's even harder when you realize it internally yourself. It's a hard message to say to yourself, wow, I've really screwed that up.
Yep.
It never feels good. So that's the first step, is recognizing, hey, I have a problem, and if you can deal with it yourself, then great. If not, it's like, if you break your arm, you're not going to try to set it yourself. You're not going to have that x-ray vision to know where's the break. How do I fix this? You're going to go see an expert to get some help.
Okay.
And asking those questions of someone who understands about addiction and can help you to understand what the next steps are. Very important to get the right help.
Last question I have for you is, what is the normal timeline for grief and loss?
That's another good question, and lots of people want an answer to that, but again, it's really very individual. There is no normal when it comes to grief and loss.
Okay.
There is only what is normal for you and what feels right for you in your life. And most of us have experienced a grief or a loss of some sort in our lives, even if we haven't experienced the death of a person. You can grieve all kinds of things, whether it's moving from a beloved house and home to a new place, moving to a different state, going to a new school, losing a good friend, maybe, for one reason or another. Relationships change, losing a job, losing a relationship, having an illness. All kinds of things bring up feelings of grief, sadness, and loss. And even sometimes recognizing that, oh wow, I am feeling grief, or this is grief. It's very individual how people react to those types of situations. It comes back to change. Nobody likes it. And sometimes you have to feel it. And that's very individual. When do you feel healed? And in many cases, grief doesn't go away, it gets less intense over time. But there are moments where it comes flooding back, and you feel that pain of the loss in the same way that you did the very first time. And it could be years and years later. It's just the way it is. You feel loss because you have loved something. And that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you so much for interviewing with me. It was nice to get your input and perspective.
Thank you, Krista. I really appreciate you talking with me too.
So you can subscribe to my channel at Pump Doctors Internet and YouTube, and you can see other interviews with mental health professionals. Thank you.